Here's some chumishes. We're going through the Megillah. We're starting Megillah Esther today. B'siyat d'shmaya. Here's some chumishes. Freilich in Purim cotton. Shushan Purim cotton. A special welcome. Reb Smith, so nice to have you here. What a
I've heard amazing things about you.
Simcha Gedoyla. Your brother's very, very dear to my heart. So it's great to have you.
Evan and Aiden send their regards.
Oh, thank you. Wonderful. How long are you here for?
I'm in Tel Aviv University, but I'm hoping to come here like maybe 4 or 5 times a week.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That'd be
see.
great. Okay, B'ezrat Hashem. So we're going to begin the Megillah. And it's kedai that everyone has a Megillah Esther. Ideally, if you have a Megillah also, you'll be able to write in some of the Yesodis, some of the things that we're going to talk about, in order that when the Megillah comes, that you're ready to go, and you have things moving through your mind, that when we read the Megillah, and the tremendous light comes down from heaven, that we're able to tap into that and feel like we've prepared sufficiently for that experience. So, let's just begin with the name, Megillah Esther. Megillah Esther, Megillah, we could have called it Megillah Hadassah, or Megillah Mordechai. Why is it Megillah Esther? So we know, the Sfarim I'll point out, that Esther is Esther min ha-Torah minayin. The Torah asks in many places, where do we find certain people hinted to in the Torah? So it says, Haman min ha-Torah minayin, Hamin ha-Eitz. Hamin ha-Eitz. Haman is in the Torah. I mean Haman, he was from the Purim story, much later. No, Hamin ha-Eitz, talking about the tree of knowledge of good and evil. That Haman is right there. Hamin ha-Eitz. Haman. Which means anything to do with the tree of knowledge of good and evil, the one that mixes you up and makes you not know which is good and which is evil, that's always going to be Haman. That's always going to be Amalek. That's why Purim is beyond all doubts. You smash any doubt in your mind what it means to be a Jew, what it means to be alive in this world. Someone came to me a few days ago and he just wanted to schmooze about life. And he was a very impressive person, and he was telling me all the things he's doing, and amazing, gewaldic, and these jobs and high-end things. And I just, he says, what do you think? So I said, what's the purpose of life? He's like, whoa. I said, what's the purpose of life? Why are you doing all this? And in 1 second, with one question, a person can completely refocus and think, everything that I'm doing, it doesn't really mean anything if I'm not going to the purpose of what I'm here to do. So Haman's whole way is to mix you up, that you go through life that you don't know. Eitzadas Toiv, Ra, I don't know. So then the Gemara says, Esther min ha-Torah minayin. Where is Esther found in the Torah? Esther came a long time after the Chumash was written. But Esther min ha-Torah minayin. So the Pasuk says, Anoichi haster aster espanai. I'm going to make myself very, very hidden. Bayoy mahu. In the end of days, Hashem says, I'm going to conceal my face tremendously. There's going to be so much concealment that you won't be able to see me. A double concealment. A chaysha kafal u'mechupel. Tremendous darkness. But exactly in that place you'll find me. Exactly in that place. Afilu ba'astara, shebetoich astara. In the darkest place. In a Megillah that we're not even going to see Hashem's name in. But if you look carefully, like we're going to go through the Megillah, you'll see that we'll bring some of the Kabbalah Sfarim that show you that every line is filled with Hashem's names all over the place. Rosh Tevis, Sefer Tevis, like all sorts of codes in the Megillah. But mamish exactly in that place where Hashem's name is not mentioned, Hashem is written everywhere. He's filled the whole Megillah. So that's the Megillah Esther. It had to be Esther. Megillah means to reveal. It means a scroll, but it means to reveal the hiddenness. We're going to reveal the hiddenness. So let's begin. Vayihi b'mei Ahashverosh. No, Chazal say Vayihi, and it was in the days of Ahashverosh. Hu Ahashverosh. No, I'm not going to lay in the whole thing. HaMoilech mahoid v'ad kush sheva v'esr mamei Medina. So I'm translating here with the art scroll. And it came to pass in the days of Ahashverosh. He Ahashverosh. It repeats Ahashverosh if you notice. Who reigned from Ahoidu until Kush, from India until Ethiopia, 7 and 20 and 100 provinces. So already in the first line, there's a million things to just think about, ask about. Rashi, you have to always see Rashi. Vayihi b'mei Ahashverosh, melech pras haya. Ahashverosh was the king of Persia. Shamalach tachas koirish, that in the timeline, Ahashverosh ruled under the king Koirish. L'sayv shivim shana shal galus Bavel. At the end of the 70 years of the exile of Bavel. Now it couldn't have been the 70 years the way that we counted it until our return, because if that was the case, then we would already have had the Beis HaMikdash. This is where the entire saga starts. It starts even before this, where there was a miscalculation, which we'll talk about another time, a miscalculation. When was the end of the 70-year exile? Because we knew that it was prophesied that there'd be a 70-year exile, and many calculations were made. And once the 70-year exile came to an end, according to those calculations, Belshazzar, which was a mistaken calculation, so they already started to believe that there wasn't going to be a Beis HaMikdash. Now, Ahashverosh also made a calculation, which was a problem, and that's why at the feast that we're going to see, he brought out the garments of the Kohen Gadol, and he dressed up. As you see, he was also holding by Purim. He dressed up in the garments of the Kohen Gadol, with the tzitz and everything, and he was using the goblets of Beis HaMikdash and the kalim of Beis HaMikdash, which is, I could speak to my dear friend Gilad about Dinei Hektish and Me'ila and Kodshim as a severe crime to use kalim from the Beis HaMikdash. That's extremely severe, and he was flaunting it at the party. So, that's Rashi. Hu Ahashverosh, this Ahashverosh, hu berishoy, I'm reading Rashi, mitchiloso ve'ad soifoi. He was a Rasha from the beginning to the end of his life. Ha-moilech, shamolech me'atzmoi, v'lo yahayim ezera ha-melucha. Ahashverosh was not from royal lineage. That's what it means, that he was moilech me'atzmoi. Mahoid ve'ad kush, ha-moilech al mea ve'esrim v'shem medinas kamoy shemoilech mahoid ve'ad kush. Like a person was ruling from Hoidu, from India until Ethiopia. She'oindim ze etzel ze, v'chen ki hu roide b'kol ever anar, mitifsach ve'ad aza. She'haya roide b'kol ever anar, kamoy shu roide mitifsa ad aza. So look, I want to read you a little bit about Vayihi b'mei Ahashverosh. So the Gemara says that any time that those words, yes, Kobe.
Any time it says in the Torah Vayihi b'mei, it's speaking about a bad sequence of events that are about to happen.
That's right, exactly. The Gemara says, like Kobe said, the Gemara Megillah, Yud, Amud Beis, Yud Aleph, Amud Aleph, that any time that you see those words, it's like a foreshadowing. Vayihi b'mei. That's why even the Niggin, Vayihi b'mei, it's already from the beginning of the Megillah reading, there's a feeling like something's about to happen. Anytime that it says Vayihi b'mei, it's Lashon Sar. Lashon Sar. And the Lashon of Vayihi is vai hai, like oy vey, oy vavoy. Something is about to happen because it's going to be a tremendous pain that's going to happen to the Jews. Now, what was the pain right away that was going to happen to Klal Yisrael? Why now? Because why did this whole story happen? So it happened because, so the Gemara asks, says, why were we chayiv kali ba'Yisador? Why were we chayiv to be destroyed at that time? So the Gemara says, because we're nen misudosos shel oisay rosham. Because we took part in this feast that Ahashverosh hosted. Does anybody know, was it a feast kosher?
Yeah.
Was it kosher food? Mahadran min a mahadran. But that's Eidach HaRedis. You know who the mashgiach was? Mordechai. Could you trust his hechsher? It's kosher. Mordechai at Tzaddik. So what was the problem of going to the feast?
What went on there?
It was kosher. It was kosher.
I'm talking about the food, the actions.
That was a side thing that happened. The problem was, yeah.
Maybe what they use that food for, rather than to just indulge in it. Like,
Oh, there was nene misudasa shaloi serasham. They went to the feast, and they didn't just go because of Shalom Malchus. We have to go. We have to like they say, show face. Political move. So we'll go to the feast, and play our cards right. They were nene. When they got there, they're like, I got it. They got involved. I can get used to this type of life. You got golden goblets, that with wine, the same age as you were. You know what that means? Yeah. Could you imagine like a zoking mamish, 100-year-old yid, they got 100-year-old, and new golden goblets every time you finished. Shtias yain. Yain was flowing, like they say. It was a wine party. And there was no music, which was interesting. The tapestries, the visuals, there was so much gold and rubies and gems everywhere. The palace was lined with, the floor was, we're going to see in a second, just gems everywhere. Even there was gems underneath the rugs, the beautiful Persian rugs, that you would pull up, the rug was just there, just that you would open up the rug and you would see how many more jewels there were on the floor. And Ahashverosh wanted to show off his richness to the whole world. So the beginning though, even though the end of the Gemara says that what was the real reason why we were chayiv? Because we bowed down to the idols in the times of Nebuchadnezzar. Except when we came to the Suda, and we came to Ahashverosh's party, that finished it. Because we just got too involved. We should have just gone, said this is not our thing. We're here because we have to, but this is not good. And Mordechai warned us, said, be very, very careful. Don't mix in. People on beds of gold. Some say it was golden beds with silver legs, or silver beds with golden legs. You know how much money a gold bed is? You know how much gold was worth? Golden, one leg of a bed. Golden beds. Ahashverosh essentially had the money of the entire world. So that was the beginning of the whole story. It was Vayihi Bimei. I want to read you something. So what was the tsar that Ahashverosh was moilech me'atzmai? He was not like the other kings of that time. Now there's an interesting din, is that it says that leiv malachim biyad Hashem, that the heart of the kings are inside Hashem's control. Hashem guides the kings. Except that's only a king that's a real king. Ahashverosh was like his own.
He married in.
Exactly. So he was called a melech hedyoit, and therefore he was basically more dangerous because he could do anything. He didn't have this din that Hashem was moving through him in the same way. Says the Alshich, it doesn't say Vayihi bimei Haman. Why not? It was in the days of Haman, in the days of Ahashverosh. Asher ikarat sar bali Yisrael al yodav. Ki mikol makon Ahashverosh hayasoyni Yisrael me'atzim b'tzipa lezamen sheyuchal la'abdum me'artzoi. Shahaya Ahashverosh yoshev mitzape ketzad l'salik es ha'yehudim me'artzoi. Ad sheba Haman v'bikesh l'shalom kesev rav avur hashmadosam. Everything about Ahashverosh, he hated the Jews also. Ahashverosh wasn't this person who was like wishy-washy on the side. He hated the Yidden. And Haman came. And like the Gemara says, that there was a person who had a pit. And he dug out the pit and he had some earth. And needed someone to take the earth. So he was looking, some guy needed some earth to fill in his pit. And some guy had earth that he needed to ship away. So wouldn't you know? Exactly. So Haman came and he says, I've got asara salafim kikar kesef. I've got asara salafim, 10,000 silver talents. I'm going to buy Jews. By the way, it wasn't the first time somebody tried to buy Jews. And Haman said, I'm going to buy the Jews. And what do we know? This week's parasha. The chetzi shekel is that Moshe Rabbeinu was taking a half-shekel from every single Jew, and all the half-shekels add up to Haman's asara salafim kikar kesef, because Moshe Rabbeinu said, I'm going to take their half-shekels, and their half-shekels are going to be much stronger than your asara salafim kikar kesef. Haman, you're coming to this big amount of money to buy Jews? The Jews give the little half-shekels. You know what the half-shekels for? Korban Sibur. For the Korbanos in Beis HaMikdash, for the Tamidim, originally for the sockets, the Adanim, the half-shekels, like a tiny little, chetzi shekel. But that's going to be much stronger, Haman, than all your big projects. So who Ahashverosh? This Ahashverosh. This is Ahashverosh. HaMoilech me'hoid ve'ad kush. Sheva ve'esr m'mei Medina. You have to think about every single one of these things. Sheva, why is it going like that? Ve'esr m'mei Medina. Does that number seem familiar from anywhere? Sorry, Meinu.
Oh, sorry.
Some say that Mehoid ve'ad Kush was very close together, and that it was a smaller region that he ruled now. That after he took over this Malchus, people lost respect, and originally they had the whole world, and then it went to that small area. Others say that it was Mehoid ve'ad Kush, but the whole other way, the whole around the world. Mamish, he had the whole world. Bayom mahem kesheves hamelech Ahashverosh al kisei malchusoi, and it was in those days when the king was sitting on the kisei malchusoi asher b'shushan abira. Kisei malchusoi asher b'shushan abira. What's this kisei malchusoi? We're going to have to talk about this kisei malchusoi. That there was a throne that Ahashverosh wanted very badly. Do you know what throne that was? Shlomo HaMelech had a throne.
Like a golden lion.
Shlomo HaMelech had a famous throne that was a golden throne and had animals at various steps going up to the top of the throne. And because Shlomo HaMelech, either this throne was al pi teva, it had all sorts of cranks, and it wasn't miraculous. It was a simple throne, but it had the most unique gadgets where it would lift you from one step to the next, and different lions would attack you if you were not the worthy person, but it wasn't real. It was all this wonderfully mechanical contraption that would measure the weight and the cadence and like the original Fitbit, but like everything. And Shlomo Melech had this technology. Or the throne actually was a miraculous throne that it would attack anybody that tried to go up the throne to sit on it. And Ahashverosh wanted this throne. He wanted this throne, but he couldn't get it. So he had his builders build him a throne like this. but they built it in Shushan. Shushan wasn't the capital originally. They were built, but Shushan had the best builders. They were building the throne in Shushan. What happened after the throne was built? Could they move it? No. So what did Ahashverosh do? He moved the capital to Shushan. Like talk about bad strategic planning. He moved the capital to Shushan Abira because he had to have this throne was there. So when he was sitting on that throne, we're going to have to talk more. We're going to be moving through the Megillah. There's so much going on here. Every single line that's happening. There's so much also to flesh out from the Midrashim of what's happening here in the story. And once you start going through the Megillah and you see step by step, it's a whole new Megillah. You enter a universe of Megillah Esther. We should be Zoicha Mamish to read the Megillah of Mashiach Tzidkenu B'mher V'Yamin Amen. Kol Tov. Wonderful day.